I'm going to start the show off tonight a bit differently than usual.
Alright, hello everyone, welcome to my next installment of Felduary. Yes, I found a great working title and I love it. This time I'm going to talk about, well, one of my favorite reality shows that was on the air at the time. The Two Coreys, a scripted reality show where Corey Haim is driving Corey Feldman crazy and they're all trying to live together while it's filmed. Just to let you guys know, this show is completely and utterly scripted. It's funny. None of the events that actually happen here are real, so the dramatics and stuff, mostly like 80% I believe are scripted. Hell, Feldman even confirmed this twice in an interview, and he confirmed it in the movie A Tale of Two Coreys that this is a scripted show. Anyway, let's get things started and let's start listing this. My top 10 favorite Two Coreys episodes. Let's go.
When he goes, hey man, good job. There we go already. It's really well done.
Number 10 is the first episode of Season 1, Reunited. And how did this first Season 1 episode start out? It started out great. This really did show that the two have a great chemistry. And instead of it being a reality show, I think it should have been more of a sitcom style. But I guess reality in the early 2000s or mid-2000s was really popular at the time. So they went with this and made it a scripted reality. And how the two work off one another is just great. In this episode, Haim is reunited with Feldman, and basically he is driving Susan a little crazy. Haim is not used to Feldman's eating habits, which he is a strict vegetarian. He does not believe in eating any kind of meat because animals have a soul and etc. This one has a lot of good laughs in it. All I know is I crack up every time I watch it. Especially when the middle of the episode, Haim actually orders a pizza. It's kind of funny to see how uncomfortable Susie actually can be put. And personally, nothing against the real life lady herself, but Susie in this show, she is very obnoxious. That's all I'm going to say. I'm sure she's a decent person in real life and etc., but in this show, good God, she's obnoxious. And honestly, she kind of takes away from the show just a little bit. That's the only fault that this scripted reality actually has. But like I'm saying, she is playing a character, and she's probably amping that character up to 11. I'm sure the real Susie is a sweetheart in real life. I don't know her that well. I do slightly know Courtney, and from what I've seen on her post, oh my God, she is just a doll. She is the sweetest person out of the two women that were in Feldman's married life, I guess. Anyway, to get back off that, I'm going to get back onto the episode of this. It's just hilarious, and Haim really can be funny. He has the perfect quips in this episode, and it just kind of cracks you up. It's a very strong first episode. It's very rare when a first episode of a show can be this strong, and this one actually hits home really well. I enjoy it on a really good level. But it's at number 10 for a reason. There are some really fucking good episodes throughout the run of this, and you're about to see them as they go on. Let's go on to number 9.
Kid, we're officially done.
Number 9 is Crash. Now, this is the only Season 2 episode that's on this list. Okay, I'm going to go into a little detail here. I don't like Season 2. The show is supposed to be called The Two Coreys, and the diversity that happens in the second season is that they split up. I get what they were trying to do. They're trying to show them what they're like apart from each other. But it's a scripted reality called The Two Coreys. However, this one is low on the list because, well, I wanted to see what was going to happen. Are they going to reunite? Was there supposed to be a third season to the series? I would have loved to have seen that. And they give you this big, dramatic reveal, because Haim is there waiting. The two have gotten into a big fight. Feldman has tried to get Haim some help, and the two got into a huge argument within this season. So they go and they try to meet each other one more time, but they don't show if Feldman actually went there or not, or if Haim went there or not. I don't really know what happens. It just shows Haim makes it to the designation, and then the episode kind of ends trying to segue into season 3. I really wish there would have been a third season, because honestly, shortly after this, we tragically lost Haim, and it's just a very heartbreaking episode in its sense. The people that were suckered in and thought this was a real fight going on are the ones that, well, are wanting to see the ending. They're wanting a catharsis ending. So, my thoughts is this one's just ranked a little under because they leave it on such a big cliffhanger. And me being sucked into the melodrama, I wanted to see it end on a good note because these two guys, they're always going to be my favorite comedy duo or teen duo from the 80s and 90s. I mean, they will be missed as a team together. However, this episode is worth at least one watch. I don't recommend season 2 entirely, but I do recommend this episode. Let's go on to the next number.
Corey Haim is going to help me quit something. Does anybody else here get the irony?
The next episode is Cold Turkey, and this one just brings on the laughter through it. Okay, throughout this episode, Haim is trying to get Feldman to quit smoking, when it all started out with Susie complaining that Haim is smoking too close to the house, and they're getting the cigarette smoke in the house. She doesn't like cigarettes. And it all pretty much starts out with they're both going to help each other try to quit. In fact, Haim catches Feldman smoking, and it was Feldman that pretty much was leaving the door open when he was smoking a cigarette. If you have really been with a family member or you have fought cigarette or nicotine addiction yourself, then you know how these guys feel. And I lived with a parent that was trying to quit smoking, and good God, it was hell. And when you are fighting those addictions, it just works out. It basically, the episode ends with them trying to get the bad aura out of their bodies by going to this camp. It's just funny. It shows how their personalities rub off on one another, and it's just great. I mean, I laughed so hard at this episode. One minute they're playing pool, the next minute they're smoking, the next minute they're playing pool. It's just hilarious. And the fact that Susie is just annoyed that he's smoking now, it's fucking great. This is easily one of the best episodes out of the series, and if you're looking forward to just straight laughs, yeah, this is definitely a straight laugh episode, because I started laughing my ass off when I watched this one, and this is probably one of the most rewatched episodes I've seen out of the entire run. When it comes to the straight belly laughs, I just watched this one. I mean, you could see how the two's personalities coincide with one another and how one influences the other. I'm not saying one just influences the other. They both influence themselves, and you can see that right here in this episode. You can see a very strong bond and friendship between the two, and I absolutely love it. This episode is just fucking great. If you haven't seen it, like I said, give the two Coreys a watch, and at least watch this episode if you're looking to laugh. This pretty much just proves that the show itself should have been a sitcom, because that would have been even better. I mean, you could have put a laugh track in some of these scenes and they would have fit right perfectly. I really wish we would have got a sitcom of these two instead of a scripted reality show. Okay, I'm done. Let's go on to the next number.
What's Friday? You're performing. What? You're performing here Friday, man.
Now we're on to one of my favorites, the Battle of the Bands. And this one is very funny, and honestly, This shows what a good friend Haim is to Feldman too. He actually tries to book the Truth Movement band to get in so they could perform at this place as a surprise for Feldman. It's honestly a really heartfelt episode, and you can actually see that he urgently wants to do this. This is like really why I think the show should have been a sitcom style, because shows like Golden Girls and stuff could have pulled stuff like this off. I really wanted this to be like a sitcom style, but what we got here is great. Feldman does such a good job playing like the clueless guy, like what are you talking about, kind of guy, while Haim is trying his damnedest to get them an opening and a performance, because honestly Feldman's passion beside acting is singing. That's really what he loves to do, but he loves acting just as much. I'm not sure which one he really loves the most, but I've got a feeling that he loves singing in general, and Haim, being his best friend, can see that, and he's trying to help him try to live out that passion. He knows what he loves, and honestly, watching Haim go to the lengths that he goes through is a really good treat. These two just work so well together, and the chemistry here is fantastic. That's all I'm going to say. It's great. If you haven't seen this episode, or if you haven't seen the show, like I said, give it a shot.
She was a nice girl, but she wants to be an actress, and I don't want to date any more actresses for me.
Next is Wingman. Okay, basically the premise of this episode is Haim is trying to find a girlfriend, and he is super picky, and that's pretty much it. He doesn't want to date an actress, and he pretty much goes through the 5-minute dating realm. He gets reintroduced to some girls, and then he finds out one of them wants to be an actress, and he's like, nope, screw that. Basically, this just shows how funny Haim can be here, and this episode is a Haim-centric episode, and it's just some of the things he says in this just shows he still had it in his comedic form. This episode is just amazing. And you can see that Feldman's character is getting really annoyed with him not finding a girl. He basically even says, dude, you're just so darn picky. Pick somebody. And it's kind of just funny to watch the two work off. Feldman is being his wingman in this episode. It's pretty much that. That's the premise. It's Haim trying to find love again. And he's not wanting sex or wanting a hookup, one-night hookup. He's wanting love. Basically, this character of Haim is a lovesick romantic, and this persona he's playing is fantastic. Honestly, he is basically playing the character of the lovesick actor who is just looking for the one true love. It's just fantastic, and honestly, I actually like the girl that Haim ends up with. She seems really sweet and really into him. It's honestly very cute in my book. Anyhow, this is just a cute episode in general. Give Wingman a shot if you haven't seen it.
I think it's a good call bringing Joe in.
Playing for Belly Laughs comedy again is The Great Escape. Basically, Feldman and Susan's characters are not getting enough alone time because they are aggravated by Haim's character in this episode. And this is yet again another reason why I think that the show should have been a sitcom. Some of these scenes you could have put a laugh track behind and you would have really laughed your ass off. It would have fit for the sitcom. The comedy is just gold. Basically, Susie and Corey can't get any alone time, and Haim is just there aggravating the shit out of them. And honestly, watching Susie in misery is funny as hell, but watching Feldman actually have his kind of actor meltdown is hilarious too. One of my favorite scenes in general is just like where he's talking to the reality show host, I guess, and he's like, of course I don't want my wife. I want my wife! And it's just, I don't know, the acting in this one is just, it has the chops to be a reality, not a reality show, but a sitcom. This could have been a pretty damn good episode. It kind of plays out like an episode of Frasier or Golden Girls, and I think that's what they were going for. I really wish that instead of reality show, we would have gotten a show that was more on the sitcom-y side. Like I said, they could have played exaggerated characters like they're doing in this show. However, it's pretty freaking hilarious, and honestly, I look for the comedy in this show mainly. I love the comedy in the show. Haim and Feldman's chemistry just works side by side, and he's really good at acting fucking irritated with Haim. I kind of just laugh my ass off every time. Every time he knocks on that door and says, "Are you busy?" and you see his expression, it's just like you can't help but piss yourself laughing.
Corey's gone through so much. I just can't imagine now we run the risk of losing him after he gets his life together. It just doesn't make sense.
Next is another heartfelt episode, and this one is probably one of the best ones ever. This one is called The Surprise Party, and it's basically about Feldman trying to throw Corey Haim a surprise party, and it just is so good. But on the B plot to the episode, Haim is having issues with his heart, and basically you get to see a side plot of him and Susie spending the day together, which is pretty funny. It's basically Haim's birthday, and he's trying to spend his entire day to keep Haim away from the house. So he has him team up with Susie. Comedy ensues when these two are just not getting along at all. These two are it's like a cat and a dog with a really rabid cat, with Haim being a happy-go-lucky dog. It's just fucking hilarious how these two work off each other. While in the background, Feldman himself is actually setting up a really good birthday party surprise, including getting his mother to join in on the party. It's really a good, heartfelt episode, and honestly, teary-eyed watching this one. It's honestly really good. I mean, it would be so much closer to my top 3, but there's still some more to come on here on this list. But honestly, this one is just excellent. I give this episode a 10 out of 10, and if I'm thinking that on this number, you know that the rest are about to come down.
Your freak style Corey's okay, yeah.
Now I need to vacuum.
Next is Clip Show, and yeah, you're probably pretty surprised that Clip Show has actually made it on my list of episodes, but it did. It made it. And I've got to say, they actually do something smart than just show clips of the entire first season. They actually show unused footage that wasn't in the first season, and I think that's really great. Basically, we get to see like more arguments that ensue. There's not a lot I can say about this episode in general, but clip shows normally on my list, especially for a TV show, are some of the laziest shit you could do. But this one takes the next step and actually makes it watchable by adding new scenes. We get to see what wasn't there before, and I find that to be really good in my book. Like, really, really good. It's smart. Instead of like, well, we're just going to show you something to make it look like a new episode. No, we're going to show you some clips, but we're going to show you some clips that you didn't see before. That's really good writing, whoever was behind that. Still, at least maybe it wasn't a good thing that it was a sitcom TV show, but I still really wish it was. If I could go back to the alternate universe and say, hey, make it a exaggerated clip show sitcom TV show like Frasier or Golden Girls, then hey, you've got it made, pal. But this one is a pretty smart clip show. As far as TV show clip shows go, like clip shows from the past or whatever, South Park and this show actually did them the best. Give it a watch if you haven't seen it. If you skip clip show just because of the title, you really don't get this episode.
Eat my snow, biatch! With all the silence in the world.
Number 2 is Fly Away Haim, and this is the actual season finale of season 1. Basically, Haim and Susie are at their breaking points here with their fighting with each other, and their characters get into a full drawn-out yelling match, which causes Feldman to intervene, or Feldman's character to intervene, and basically Haim decides to leave because it's basically a put-up, exaggerated fight, and they had to draw it out for the camera's sake. This one is really good, and it does take the drama into the show really well. Going through the characters' chemistry when they're acting like brothers, and to me, that's what the two are brothers. This is what this episode showcases. They're more than just best friends, they're brothers. Brothers often fight. I have a brother that I often fight with constantly. Yet they have a unending love for each other, and they will scoot to drastic measures if they have to. This captures what family is really well, and this episode just hits it out of the park with the feels. You get Haim's point of view, and you get Feldman's point of view. Well, their characters anyway, you get their point of view. You can understand that Feldman wants to stand by Susie in this round, and Haim feels like his best friend, who he hasn't seen in forever, is kind of turning on him. But you get it from both characters' point of view. That is really good writing. For this to be a scripted reality show, they did a really good job with the characters. They exaggerated them perfectly, even though Susie is done a little too well for her exaggeration. I mean, her character is really exaggerated in this show, but it just works, and how all three work off one another is just excellent. I honestly really like this show, and this episode really did change the format of how the show went along with each other. And I know what you're thinking. It's not number one. What is number one, Mr. Tim? Well, number one is going to be very obvious when it comes to these episodes. So here we go.
Times ended all bloodied up, but that's the fun of it.
And Corey later realized that he would need knee pads for the rest of his career.
Death by Feldman.
Obviously, number one is Lost Boys. Yep, this is the best episode of the entire 2 seasons out of the 2 Coreys, and it is Season 1, Episode 2, The Lost Boys. Basically, it is a reunion between Haim, Jameson Newlander, and Feldman, and I love every second of it. The convention scenes are fantastic. I mean, it's just great, and the comedy is just on point here. Basically, the knee pads joke is one of the funniest fucking things I've heard out of Feldman, and it just hit. I mean, you could see Haim's face, and how he rebuttals it is death by Feldman is hilarious. But that's not all that makes it good. The chemistry between everyone in this episode is just on point. This is the Lost Boys reunion I wanted to see when I was a teenager, and I would have loved to have seen it. And then they hit at Lost Boys 2. Though the episode does have a tragic turn around the end, this episode feels so real. And honestly, it's the episode that doesn't feel scripted out of the entire 2 season runs. This episode feels so real. Jameson and Feldman and Haim, they just work so well off one another. Especially Haim. I mean, he does a fantastic job here. And I will miss him. Everyone is going to miss Haim. He was a national treasure. And I think this is why I would love to see a Frog Brothers TV show in the memory of, well, the Lost Boys in general. We've lost both Joel Schumacher and we have lost Corey Haim. But maybe things could be fixed now. Maybe we could become and have a much better show than even Cobra Kai. Lost Boys has found a new audience again. And yeah, it really has. And this episode really showed that Lost Boys fans are still out there. This is why this episode is just so amazing. It is honestly the perfectly well done pinnacle. It feels more than just scripted reality. It feels like the real freaking deal here. And I just love every single minute of this episode. There isn't a minute wasted here. The comedy's on point, the characters' interactions are on point, and the audience that is in the entire episode is fantastic too. Everything about this episode just runs perfectly. And honestly, it is worthy of being number 1 on my list. Well, that's it. You know what's funny? I've been talking about a Lost Boys or Frog Brothers TV show, and you know what? I would say, what do you want me to do next in this next video? But I think I already know what I'm going to do next. I'm going to talk about how I would make a Frog Brothers TV show. How I would do it. Anyway, stay tuned for next Tuesday because that's what's coming out next. And thank you all for listening. And always remember, I'm listening.
Hello, this is Corey Feldman. Welcome to my studio here in Los Angeles, California, and I just wanted to pop in to say congratulations to Tim. Mr. Tim, I hope everybody's enjoying your videos. He's got some great content, and if you're enjoying his content, make sure you click on that little button right there that says subscribe. Why? Because everything on his channel is Bossa Nova. That's right. Congratulations on your channel, Mr. Tim. I'll be following you, and I know everybody else will too.